Right. Here's all the behind the scenes jazz for Joker Folie à Deux. There's some really interesting stuff here. Yeah. It's so this is of course all about Joker Folie à Deux and it being a massive bomb, right? Just touch on this first though. Apparently Lady Gaga is said to be shocked at the negative reactions to the sequel. How? Behave. Come on. I just thought I'd get to that straight away because I think that's very funny. But this is a piece on the Hollywood Reporter, which they released yesterday, so the 7th of October. And, you know, the thing that struck me about this as I read it was that there's no accountability. They're like, oh, you'd be stupid not to make a sequel. Of course they were going to greenlight, you know, the sequel. And you're like, right, okay.
It didn't need it.
Yeah, you're right from a business perspective.
Yeah.
They didn't have to greenlight this sequel, though, did they? This particular one is insane to greenlight. This one is dumb as piss to greenlight. What are you doing? And you'll see it like it's just excuse after excuse after excuse, basically. They're just trying to justify their own incompetence. And it is epic incompetence. So basically says here, you know, when DeLuca and Abdi took over as co-heads of Warner Brothers movie studio, and you guys just jump in, please, like as we go through this. In early June 2021, one of the first decisions they made was to move forward with the sequel to Joker. So, sure, fine. Virtually all the key deals were already put in place by their predecessor, Toby Emmerich, with A-list director Todd Phillips and star Joaquin Phoenix getting $20 million paydays. And the film landing a rich net budget of $190 million. Phillips is a huge asset for Warner's, his home studio, apparently. I bet they're reconsidering that thought process now that he's an asset. So apparently Gaga got paid $12 million. Sure, fine. But it says here, right? So Abdi and DeLuca could have said no to making the film, but they would have been the laughing stocks of Hollywood, considering the astonishing success of Joker. Did they read the fucking script then?
Yeah, apparently not.
Well, my guess is that things changed along the way also. And you have to remember that most of this, they want to give Toby Emmerich the shaft on this, but it was the lady boss that was in charge that actually made the decision over him. It was the Ann Sarnoff in the picture that actually made this go. So let's not lie.
Yeah. So apparently a source close to the film says it's a complete audience rejection. Yes, that's by design, clearly, from you guys. While it's not the lowest North American opening for a pick based on a DC character, Folie à Deux is major stumble. Yet numerous sources tell the Hollywood Reporter that there's no studio head in Hollywood, save perhaps for Sony's Tom Rothman, that would have turned down making a sequel to a film that was both a commercial and critical hit. Again, they didn't have to make this film, though, did they? This particular film didn't need to get made. Like it's the
I think that's the bigger conversation, though, Nate. Is that it was this film? You could have made 100 different. You could have had a Bonnie and Clyde film. You could have had a whole lot of other things out there, right? I mean, a lot of creators like myself have said the Bonnie and Clyde thing, but there's other paths you could have gone. The Descent into Madness. The Descent into Madness would have been great, right? And actually having Harley Quinn try to pull him out and yet be drawn into his world, they could have just had her be the psychologist that she was supposed to be, right? Trying to break. Maybe she's the one that's determining whether or not he should be competent to stand trial. There's 1,000 different movies you could have made.
That is a good element. Well, look here. It's a collective failure. Once again, but it was right to make this movie. What? What? No, obviously it wasn't. And that is a top veteran producer and financier who points out that Phillips is a brilliant director who's made Warner's billions between the first Joker and the Hangover movies. He didn't, though, because Joker won the Joker movie. He got the majority of the back end profit on that. His fee was a back end deal. Same with the Hangover movies. Actually, the first Hangover movie, he negotiated a back end deal for that. Same with Joker. So actually, he hasn't made Warner's billions. He has on paper, right? It looks like they've earned lots of money, but money which they actually took home, no. And Mate, how are you a top veteran producer and financier? What do you mean it was right to make this movie? Obviously it wasn't. Like, obviously it wasn't. It's bombed. How can you sit there looking at the evidence and go, oh, it's right to make this movie? Well, you retarded. Obviously it wasn't right to make the movie. It bombed. It's a failure.
Yeah. Todd Phillips has made himself a lot of money. That was the statement that needed to be there. Todd Phillips has made himself a lot of money because the first of his movies always does really well, and he puts it all in his pocket. And then the studio says, well, we want that money, so make us another movie. I think he saw that happen with The Hangover, and then he just watched it happen with this thing. You don't think he's going to make one great movie where he gets paid, and then the studio's like, well, we want more, we want money. Because that's what happened on that last one. 1.0, what was it? $1.07 billion on a $55 million budget.
Yeah. Oh, crazy, crazy money.
Yeah.
Well, check this out. One answer. So still observers wonder how DeLuca and Abdi could have presided over a film that veered so far off course from what audiences wanted or expected. One answer, perhaps, is Phillips was given an extraordinary level of autonomy and final cut. There was no test screening, though insiders say this was a mutual decision between the filmmaker and Warner's in order to preserve spoilers. That decision does stretch, though, because like Avengers Endgame had multiple test screens, so obviously that's just nonsense. This is just insane.
They chose to run this through multiple film festivals before it even got released publicly.
I know.
So bullshit. All of that's bullshit.
Yeah, no, you're completely. I know. I didn't even think about it from that perspective, but you're right. It's just insane. It's just absolutely insane. So there's more. On Sunday, Warner's didn't attempt to sugarcoat the movie's performance or suggest it had a chance of catching on after being rejected by fanboys. Unless people want to go see it because of the hate factor, they also didn't point fingers such as at marketing, which can often happen after a movie bombs. It's a huge disaster. But what is the fallout? Who gets the blame? Asks one source.
Well, it's not marketing. Look, marketing's job is to get people's butts in the seats. If you make a piece of dog poo, nobody wants to eat the piece of dog poo. You know, I mean, and no matter marketing, even if you marketed this thing to the wall, right? And even if you spent $500 million marketing this movie, you're just throwing good money after bad, because by the time somebody like myself gets to see the movie, you don't think I'm going to tell everybody and their mom how bad the movie is?
Yeah. I think these studios spend way too much on marketing anyways. I mean, get it out there, let it be known, that sort of thing. But, nothing's going to be word of mouth from the audience. People are going to go out there and talk about it and tell people, hey, this is awesome. You need to check this out. Or, hey, this sucks. Skip it.
It gets better, guys. This is not even the best parts of this article. So some have noted that the film is a very expensive punchline, a repudiation of the very audience who showed up for the first movie. Ironically, again, like you are just spitting in the face of the audience that liked the first movie. Dumb, real dumb. And then there's this, right? He's always trusted his gut, and it's gotten him pretty far. He thought people would get the joke, notes another Warner's insider of Phillips. No. This is the best part, ladies and gents. Neither Phillips nor Phoenix was even sure about making a sequel, and for a time contemplated putting on a Broadway show instead, before ultimately committing to the movie and bringing on board Gaga in a role inspired by comic book character Harley Quinn. The idea for the sequel came to Joaquin Phoenix in a dream.
Oh, geez. Don't listen to anything. He's a weirdo anyways. They should have never listened to him in his weird dreams.
So it wasn't even the director's idea.
Yeah, the director should have been smart enough to be like, funny dream. All right, well, on to the movie.
This is the best one. In the end, some are saying that Joker Folie à Deux is a very expensive art film, but when asked who the intended audience was, one outside source sums it up this way: it's for Joaquin.
Yeah. Wow. That's an expensive present you gave him.
$20 million.
Yeah,
he got $20 million for this.
Yeah, and they spent $190, not including marketing.
They spent 200. That 190 is bologna sausage. They spent 200 plus on it, And they spent about 150 to 200 millions in marketing. And don't let them lie to you about that either. So this thing is a trash fire. And if it doesn't make at minimum $500 million, it will not sniff profitability.
So between the first one and this one, by the time it's over with, they might break even between the two films.
No, they did really well in the first movie.
Yeah, they did. They did great on the first movie. But this will still lose them a hell of a lot. I mean, it's going to lose them a lot of cash. I mean, this is just insane. It's absolutely insane. What a great piece of article, though. And yeah, I just love it. I think it's great.
I did not go see this because I waited for the reviews, and I was already iffy about it in the first place when I heard about what they were doing. So I'm glad I didn't go see it. But, you know, after hearing all the reviews and people talking about it, you know, I would have much rather seen a Joker or Harley Quinn, you know, what was that Nicolas Cage movie, Raising Arizona? You know, where they go steal a baby and try to raise a baby together or something. Like I would have much rather, I would have paid to go to the movie to see that instead of the garbage I've heard that this movie actually was. I mean,
oh man, it's a terrible film. Actually, a terrible film.
Yeah,
me and Culture reviewed it at the start of this show. Awful. What are your thoughts, Culture, on this nonsense article? Like, it came to him in a dream.
That's fine. I don't care how you get inspired. That's the least of the problems here. This article is incredibly telling. It is one of those things that really kind of exposes how hand in glove the media, especially Penske media, works with Hollywood directly, and just kind of lays down cover fire for very bad ideas, and doesn't actually point to who the real culprits were and how this got to where it was. Zaslav was on the tail end of the decision-making process here, enough to just sign the contract and the checks would be my guess. Everything else was handled in the prior administration, led by Ann Sarnoff, Tony Emmerich, and the hatchet man that didn't hatchet anybody, that basically greenlit Project Popcorn. A lot of very bad leadership that was walked out the door when Zaslav came in. I will say this: Zaslav would not make this decision today. He probably would have had a lot more sense and probably read the script himself. Warner is not in a position to have money be wasted. And the one thing that's missing from this article is the admission that this is the biggest spend for Warner Brothers this year. And this is now a very mixed year as opposed to a very successful year for Warner Brothers Discovery. They needed a back-to-back successful year after they got that win with Video Game and with Barbie. They didn't have anything but back-to-back failure, if you consider what their Warner Brothers game did this year with the squad kill the Justice League. And this particular film didn't help. If it weren't for Dune 2, this would be an incredibly down year for Warner Brothers Discovery, just FYI.
No, you're completely right. Completely right.
It's funny how all the Is and Obes didn't go out and support this two white male and female led movie.
True. What an epic failure. Absolutely hilarious. This will go down in history. So I thought we would cover this article. Very, very funny. We'll shuffle on now.